All right. So I'm here with Sofia, a massage therapist in Canada. I don't know if I need to give away exactly where you are, but living up in Canada, and you're starting your own business as well. And so brought you on here to do a little bit of coaching live, live here, and then record it for the podcast. Really with the intention of letting others see what the process looks like to get coached, and also hopefully they'll get something out of this. I think the questions that you brought here are relevant to a lot of people. So, um,
Thank
Sophia,
you.
welcome.
And thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then tell me why you reached out and wanted to get some support and we're open to this kind of
So
thing.
I've been a huge fan of Zen habits for many years. And
Cool.
I've been a huge fan, even though I haven't even gone through the whole thing, because that's one of my blocks. I keep
Mm.
restarting. Um, but
Hmm.
just the energy of the content and your like the Zen philosophy and everything, like the very human way that you bring in your own personal examples. I found it very relatable and very
Mm.
accessible, and it just rings true for me. So I've had it, in as like a philosophy in a way for the last few years. Um,
Mm.
and in the summertime, I decided to restart my Zen habit again. Um, and
All
then
right.
I, for some reason, decided to see if you had a podcast on Spotify, and then that's how I found it.
Hmm.
And I was coming
Awesome.
up with blocks. Actually, I think this is before I found the podcast, like a couple days before. And I
Hmm.
decided to reach out to you to ask for help because I felt so confused. And then I saw that there was the podcast. So it all kind of happened at the same time.
Awesome. And so thanks for sharing all of that. And what are the blocks? You just mentioned a couple of blocks that were coming up for you. So like, could you share just a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
So I guess the biggest block for me is that I keep starting and then restarting because I'll start with a habit, like let's say it's sleep, and then a few weeks in, then I'm
Hmm.
like, well, wait, it's actually meditation, or it's mindset, or it's
Mm.
nonviolent communication with my partner. Like these are the things that are the most
Great.
essential right now. Um, and that's where I keep tripping over myself because I keep seeing everything as a high priority thing. And of course, everything is
Mm.
interconnected. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my issue is like how to stay focused on one thing, especially like in this world where there's, like this like podcasts and challenges and, free courses and everything flying at you constantly at the same time. How do you stay focused on
Yeah.
creating one thing? So that was one of the books. Hmm.
Okay, cool. Great. I can relate to that. I imagine a lot of people listening or watching also could get that. So if you are listening or watching, please check in and see like, is there some place where that's showing up for you? Okay, cool. So should we focus on that right now? I know you
Yeah.
had some other uh, questions around
Hmm.
sleep and other things, but sounds like this is the biggest
Yeah.
blocker for you. So, okay, so let's actually lay out like what are the things that you have to choose from that you'd like to
Okay, so
focus on?
I wrote them out. um,
Okay, great.
Three top priority things that I want to create is more posts on social media. That's something I've been really
Hmm.
avoiding, and I know it's really important. Um,
Important
Important
for
for
your
my
business,
business,
is that
right? I'm
right?
creating my own business.
Cool.
I mean, I've already created one,
Hmm.
but it's always in a process of creation.
Yeah, sure. And
Oh,
what is
so
that?
I'm a
Just so
massage
that I,
therapist, but
yeah.
I see that
Hmm.
my passion lies in coaching, and it's always been there since I was a
Mm.
child. Um, and so I'm really wanting to pivot more into combination sessions where I'm doing coaching and massage therapy and sound healing as well.
Mm.
Hmm.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so so it would be you would still be doing massage therapy, but also coaching and
Yeah,
sound therapy, or
exactly.
was it like leave
It would
behind the
be,
massage?
well, long
Okay,
term vision is leave behind the massage. I also want to have
got it.
children, so I want to be able to do something that doesn't involve my body. So my vision is like within the next year, like wrap it up so that I can just fully go into coaching. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so
So
social
social media,
media
yeah.
is one.
It's and then the other creation is a program for women that I've felt very inspired and called to create. And people are like requesting and asking of me to do this thing, but it requires my, my
Oh wow.
focus and my time. So that, and then also just other marketing in general. So it's like email marketing, you know, flyers, like events, and just refining how I'm communicating what I offer. So those are like the top, I
Okay,
guess, the
got it.
top three. Creation. And then there's like
Mm-hmm.
programs. So there's this following this podcast and doing the exercises. There's then habits, the book that you created. So that's like a daily thing.
Okay.
There's a coaching program that I bought last year, which is specifically for massage therapists in private practice. So that's something I
Mm.
wanted to
Mm.
like, complete because I didn't complete it, and I know it would help my business. There's a 40-day abundance mindset thing that I've also have at home,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone else just recently reached out to me to ask if they want to do trades with me and do this kind of like abundance mindset trades. So
Sure.
those are the programs. And then in terms of habits, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like crazy right now. I feel like one of those crazy people. But yeah, habits is
It feels like as you're sharing like all of this stuff, it
I
just
just
feels a
feel
little bit
crazy because
crazy.
I'm like wanting to do so many things, so that's why I feel
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Um,
Just by sharing it here, like maybe just like, you have a fear of being judged that
Not
this,
even that. The
there's all
thought
of
already
this.
comes up even just when I'm like creating the lists. I'm like, why do I, yeah,
Am I
exactly. Like,
crazy?
why do I need to do all these things? And yet they're all important aspects. But anyways, um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and
Got
then
it.
daily habits would be like abundance mindset practice, confidence practice, regular meditation, which is something I do anyways, exercise, which is something I've integrated already, and sleeping early, which I did originally have it integrated, and then it just like somehow crashed. So restarting that.
Do you know what caused it to crash?
I think I mentioned this to you before that I think it crashed because I was confident about it. Oddly enough, it's because I was like, oh, I
Oh
conquered
yeah,
it,
yeah.
I did it. I was like the
And now I don't have to
exactly,
worry about
yeah.
it.
I took my eye off the
Yeah.
ball. So. Mhm.
Okay, got it. And so with this long list, I could feel there's a lot there, and I also feel that these are all
Mhm.
things you care about. So it's not just like let me just add a bunch of stuff there. This is all stuff you really want to be like moving into or learning about or
Mhm.
creating in your life. Um, so um, what what comes up for you when you look at this list? Is it like I want all of them? I want to do all of them every day, or is it like it's too much? I'm not going to do any of them, or like yeah, what shows
I
up for
would
you?
love to do everything every day.
Okay, that's like, and that you really feel like, oh, that would be
Yeah, I
amazing.
mean, I feel the happiest when I have days where I've just done like a million things. I've gone to the gym in the morning and I'm already like working at
Hmm.
7:30 or 8, and I'm doing I also didn't mention this, but also nonviolent communication practice. So like learning or practicing exercises with my partner. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel the best when I've done a lot in my day. But is it fair to really expect that? I don't know. So,
So if you could be doing all of this every day, that would
yeah.
be like the best outcome. Got it. Um, and then from that, let's imagine this were to go like how it would typically go for you. So I'm not saying it's going to go
Okay.
this way, but if we were just like, okay, to see how this typically goes, it's like, is this common where it's like, I want to take on a lot, I want to do all of the things, and then how does it
Yeah.
go after that?
I think that is a typical scenario where it's like I'll write a to-do list in my day and it's always way more than I think I can actually do. And I think there's like
Hmm.
disappointment in that I can't be a superhuman. I think there's like sadness that I can't do it
Mm.
all. um, and maybe some perfectionism too. Like what I noticed in this entire process with Zen habits is that it's actually much messier than I expected, and it seems so, it seems so clean.
Yeah.
You've got like even the book, it's like it's clean and there's like chapters and there's exercises, but
Mm.
is that really how it is in reality? It's like kind of messy, right?
Definitely not. Maybe I should have put more mess
Like
into the
just
book just to set some
random
expectations.
letters all
Yeah.
over the place.
Splatter it with
Exactly.
coffee. um, okay, let's see. So I want to look at how it typically goes. So it's like I have all of these ambitions, all of these things that I want to take on, and then you try and actually take it on. I'm sure with like a
Hmm.
lot of energy, and then you said it doesn't work out. But like, what has how does it go in a way that it doesn't work out? So like, are you trying to do it all and then dropping balls, like kind of juggling it all, or running out of energy, or
I
what
find
happens?
whatever I'm focusing on, like if I'm focusing on going to the gym every morning, then for 2 weeks I'll be
Hmm.
amazing and I'll be like in the gym five
Okay.
times a week or running or whatever. And then, but then it's like other things might fall off. And then the next two, then I'm like, okay,
Mm.
wait, now I need to pull up something else. And then I focus more on that. But then like, oh, I've only exercised like twice this week. It's like it's hard for me to do all of these things at a high level at the same time. Um, yeah.
Got it. Got it. I can relate. Okay, so you're doing really well with
Hmm.
exercise for 2 weeks, and then it's like all these other things have dropped off, and then so you like I want to focus on this as well, and then exercise. It's almost like taking your eye off the ball,
Hmm.
like you haven't even noticed the exercise has dropped off, and it's like, oh, I've only exercised
Hmm.
twice this week. Is that how
Yeah,
it works?
that's kind of how it works. It's like something will kind of like lower down as I put my focus into something else.
And it's almost like it just accidentally lowers down. It's not like you're like, I choose to put this down for
Yeah.
a little bit. And it's also not like, oh, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore. It's just like focusing on this. And then, oh crap, I didn't even notice that was going
Hmm.
down.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like okay, actually, let me ask you this. So you've changed your focus into something else and exercise falls down. And then how do you feel about that, or what comes up for you?
Mm, what comes up is feeling, I guess is not a feeling, but I guess feeling disappointed and thinking that I'm a failure.
Hmm.
That's what comes up. Yeah.
Got it. And then from that, what do you tend to do? Like, I'm feeling disappointed. I feel like I'm a failure.
And
Then
then
what do you tend to do?
I feel very like behind, or I guess I'm thinking that I'm very
Mm.
behind and I feel more anxious, and then
Hmm.
maybe my sleep gets messed up because I'm more anxious, right? And
Ah,
then I say, okay, so it's important that I'm fixing my mindset, and then I go into mindset, and then it's like, wait, but my social media, do you know? Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you're like, okay, I can see them. To your credit, you're like seeing that the mindset is
Hmm.
affecting everything, how you're feeling, affecting your sleep. And so I'm going to focus on the mindset. But then these other things are dropping, and it's almost like I'm feeling behind over there and disappointed, and feeling like a
Hmm.
failure in those areas. Uh, okay, got it. Let's see. Trying to check in like where it would be helpful to go. Actually, at this point, I'm feeling called to just kind of share a little bit about how this process works, or let's see, how the process that you've been
Hmm.
going through, with all of these things, how that tends to work, or how it
Hmm.
looks.
Yeah,
Would that
please
be
do.
okay if I
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
for a minute about that? Okay. So however I laid out that book as clean and simple and like tidy, that's not how it looks in real life. And I'll share in my life, this what you described is often what I'm noticing. So I can, I can actually keep several things going at the same time, but not everything. And so I will drop something, like I'm writing a book about my grandmother. As soon as I take my focus off of that, it stops because it takes some energy to keep that going. But I've got so many other things that I need to put my focus and energy on that stops. And so I'll notice it. And the thing that I notice about you is this is very typical. Like what we would do is I feel disappointed, and I'm I take that disappointment to mean something about me. Like I suck in some
Mm-hmm.
way, right? So we feeling disappointed is human, and even feeling like we suck is also human. But feeling disappointed is human. But then we'll take that feeling and say, I need to create some kind of meaning from it. Me having tried this and failed at failing at it, and now feeling disappointed. I suck at this, and I need to find a better way. And so we'll start to create a narrative about ourselves around it. We'll kind of beat ourselves up a bit. I don't know exactly how your version looks, but it sounds like there's something
Mm-hmm.
there. Does that does
Mm-hmm.
that make
Yeah,
sense?
for sure. 100%.
Okay. So I'm reflecting that to you because I've seen that for myself. And then the way that I work with that now is the way I hold myself is that I trust myself in my process. And that didn't come for free. I had to
Mm-hmm.
work at that. But the idea is that I'm always in a process, and around forming habits or working on my business, I'm moving through, and things are going to get dropped. Like I know that for a fact because I've seen it, and it's just a part of the process. I will actually drop a habit for a while. For a while, actually, I wasn't that off of exercise, but definitely it wasn't a big focus because I had so much other stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on. So I'm like, oh, I noticed that I'm feeling like a bit like sedentary and like not alive as much as I was when I was exercising. So I had to kind of like bring that back because I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy what it was like when I wasn't moving as much. So I'm like, let me put myself back into this, and get make that a big focus. And that's just how it goes. Like I know that because I've done it so many times before that I will feel some disappointment, but I don't make that as significant as I
Okay.
used to. And so it's messy. I need to bring things back, but what we want is it for to be nice and tidy and like good. I did that, and now it's good. That's actually the why people want to focus on habits, because I'm like, I created these habits, they're good, and I don't need to think about them
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Um, but it doesn't always work that way. Even if you like were really trying with a habit and then it falls off, and you're like, I was doing 20 straight days of something, and then it fell off, and then you just feel like deflated and like like I thought it was going to go perfectly. And what I try and tell people is like that's actually a part of the habit formation process, is falling off. And then how do you come
Mm-hmm.
back, and how do you get good at that part, which is the most important part. Starting is probably the most important, but then after that, the most important part is how do you
Mm-hmm.
come back after you've dropped it. And people who have had like 100 straight days and it's all perfect, they're like hoping that that's going to be the way it is. But then I'm like, you haven't learned um, how to come back. If you had 100 straight days, it's perfect, which is what you wanted, but you haven't learned the real key habit skill. And at some point they will have to, if they want to keep going with other habits. But okay,
Interesting.
so I said a lot. What are you hearing from that for yourself?
I guess I'm hearing that it's normal for habits to be kind of swapping places or like taking center stage, that you can't have everything on center stage. Um, and maybe that's why you're taking it less personally, because you've already zoomed out and like, you know, taken in so much data about how it works to actually integrate habits.
Yeah. Yeah. I have watched myself enough in this process to know this is how it goes. And the less that I beat myself up or like tell myself that I suck, or whatever it is that I would
Mm-hmm.
tend to do, the better, because that's just adding extra like difficulty onto
Right.
the process. So it's fine if we're doing it, just know that it is making it a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
difficult. So if you can do that less and have more grace for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So it's like, oh yeah, I dropped my exercise. Okay. Whew, I'm feeling some disappointment, like I can bring some compassion to that, and then have a little bit of grace. Like it's okay to drop things for a little bit. And then what do I need to do to like get
Mm-hmm.
back to where I need to be or where I want to be?
Can I try to answer my own question? You tell me what the answer is.
Okay, great.
Um,
Yeah, let's hear it.
so, because my question was like, how do you choose? Amongst all these things, how do you choose?
Mm,
So then my answer would be, why don't you choose like the one that is the hardest, or the one that requires the most
mm.
energy from you, and just focus on that one. Um, yeah. What do you think?
I think that's a great answer. I don't think there's a right answer here, so that's actually the
Mm,
difficulty in choosing. Did you listen to that episode on choosing
I
versus
did. I
deciding?
really liked that.
Okay.
And and
Okay, great.
the only issue for me is that like I said, I feel so inspired and so strongly about all these things. It's hard. It's because I
Mm-hmm.
think you said that you don't want to just like decide with your mind. You want to choose from your gut. And it feels like there's a fire burning in my gut for all those things. Maybe not all the habits. Although
Mm.
if I really think about them, then yeah, even all the habits. I think I'm a lover of life. I just like I love all these things.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
amazing energy. Yeah. And you can have all of that. It's the question is, do you want to have all of that right
Mm-hmm.
this second? And you can answer yes and then take that
Mm-hmm.
on. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to take on everything on my list
Mm-hmm.
all right now and see how that goes. And if you're like, well, that didn't work out so
Mm-hmm.
great. So you can always then adjust and say, okay, I want to do 5 of those things or one at a time until I feel established there and then the next. So there isn't a
Mm-hmm.
right way. You can have whatever you want, but you have to be willing to, first of all, put in the energy that's going to be required to do it, and also work with the process. So if it didn't work out well, like, and you're like, okay, I dropped, out of the 10 things, I dropped 7 of them. You can say either I want to adjust how many I'm doing, or I'm not willing to drop any of them. What do I need to do to make that happen? Do I need to like hire 10
Mm-hmm.
coaches so that I have 10 people helping me focus on all of that? Do I need to like get a team that's going to help me do some of the social media and the marketing? Do I need to you know uh, block off my day in a more like discrete manner so that it's like I'm doing this, social media here, email marketing
Mm-hmm.
here, reading this book here, taking that course there. What do I need to do if I'm committed to doing all 10 at once? And you can see that's always on the table if you want to do all 10, but it doesn't mean that's not what you have to do. Like you can say, I want to do all 10, but not all at
Mm-hmm.
once. So you just choose from the heart.
Cool. I like that.
So are you willing to practice a little bit right now?
Practice choosing?
Choosing
Sure.
from the heart? Okay. What's coming up for you? You don't have to.
Vulnerability. Nakedness.
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't ever want to force anyone to be vulnerable or naked. So like if it doesn't feel like something you want to do right now, you can definitely choose out of it. I'm not here to
I'd be
pressure you.
curious to see how you would guide that. So I'm open to it. Hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
take a look at your list, and as you do, just uh, engage the heart more than the brain as much as you can. Just be like, oh, what am I called to? So the question would be, what am I called to right now? As opposed to, I can have all of these at some point. Is it all of them? Is it a few of them? Is it one? So just feel your heart. And then what came up for you?
Um, it's to focus more on like to zoom in more on the things that are most calling me right now, which is my business and stepping
Mm-hmm.
into coaching. And then like the program
Okay.
for the women, I can just put like 2 hours or 1 hour, even just 1 hour a week, and just
Okay.
slowly create that.
Okay. And that feels really good. Like that's what your heart
Yeah,
wants.
because I noticed that if I say no, I equally want everything, then I can see that it's coming from guilt. Like I should.
Mm,
It's so bad that you didn't even finish it
great
already.
noticing.
Like things like that.
Yeah, a lot of like books and courses often go that way. It's like, oh, I have, all the books on my shelf are all the things that I should be doing, but I
Mm-hmm.
haven't, or all the courses that I bought. Like I bought 10 courses and, I haven't finished any of them and I feel a lot of
Mm-hmm.
guilt, right? Yeah. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great noticing. Yeah. So I love that, like, as you felt into your heart, there was like, you weren't actually called towards the
Mm-hmm.
shoulds. And you notice like, oh yeah, those are shoulds for me. Is there anything else on the list besides, was it courses and books that were
Um,
like shoulds?
so the should is more like the program for the women that I wanted to create.
Mm,
Um,
because there's
yeah,
people
people
who
are
want
kind of
it.
waiting
Is
on
that
me a
why?
little bit for it. I'm not waiting, but I
Got
mean,
it.
they know that I'm like in the process of creating it, so they're like, I can't wait.
Mm,
Yeah,
they're excited. So you're feeling a little bit of that
yeah,
should
yeah.
from that.
But then I'm realizing my mind saying, well, I should be operating by shoulds because that's the only way you can be responsible
Mm,
on this earth. you know. Um, yeah.
yeah, that's a
But
strong one.
ironically, what prompted me to create the program for women is not from a place of shoulds. It's only from a place of inspiration and creativity. So I think that if I'm constantly following and feeding that creativity, then I would probably create that out of bliss, like
Mm,
spontaneously or something, because I'm more in my energy. If that makes sense.
makes
Mm-hmm.
100% sense. Yeah, I didn't say that quite right, but I totally get it. So that might be actually something to keep noticing if you're up for taking that practice on, is like, where am I holding this as a
Mm-hmm.
should, or what am I taking on because of shoulds? So like with the women's program, you might say like, oh yeah, there is I started it because I really wanted to create it. There's something there that lights me up, but right now I'm holding it as a should, and that's sometimes how it goes. It's like I do it because of one reason, because it lights me up and I see the possibility. And then I slip into shoulds because, like you said, I feel like there's no other way to be responsible
Mm-hmm.
in the world. That's a training that we have. The world has trained us in that. And so we hold like shoulds is the way to do it. Should is how we should do
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And then we start to take on all of our work and our even our play and like our exercise and everything as a
Mm-hmm.
should. And we just like make ourselves do things from that place of should or guilt or supposed to or obligation, duty, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah. Anything coming up for you when
I
I
have a
share that?
question for you, actually. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question because you are creating this, it's a book, right? About your grandmother. It's like a bio. Yeah.
Right,
So,
right, right.
does that happen to you? Because it obviously was
Mm-hmm.
born from a place from your heart. And do you like,
Yeah.
is it becoming a should? And, if something becomes a should, does that mean it is best to let it go? Or is it just because I don't know, the grass is
Okay.
greener or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll answer that question, but that's actually where I was going with the women's
Okay.
program. If
Yeah.
it's become a should, does not
Yeah.
mean you have to let it go. You can actually get yourself back to that
Mm,
original place. So I'll talk about my grandma's book. So I originally really wanted to do it because I love her stories. She cracks me up. She has like the best stories and so many of them, and I'm like, oh my god, she has so many stories, and I don't think she was like 90 at the time, and I'm like, I don't know how much longer she has. It turns out she might be living well past 100. Who knows? But yeah, she's stronger than ever. But I was like, I want to really capture these. Like, I would love to have these as something that our family can hold on to. So I recorded her, and I was just going to transcribe them all have a little collection for our family. And then she got so excited and started telling all her friends, my grandson's writing a book about me, like basically a biography of her. And I'm like, no, I'm just collecting your stories. And she's like, she just kept telling everybody, my grandson's writing this book about me. And I'm like, I guess I'm writing a book about her. And so I started doing it because I thought it was funny that she did that. But then there started to become this sense of obligation, like a should, because I told my family that I was doing it, and her. And so everybody like was asking like, when is it going to be done? So I started feeling the shoulds, and I started taking it on from that place. Like, okay, I'm going to block off some time and work on it, which I did. But like, what I noticed is I can only do that so far when I'm doing it from that place of should, because like it's like a coercion. I'm making myself, and then after a while, it's like that only goes, like a certain amount of distance, and I'm pretty good at it, so I can go pretty far, but I always will stop because of that, because it won't take me past my way past my resistance. It goes so far, but it's just like up
Okay.
till there, and then like, so now what I do to answer your question fully is I try and reconnect to the why. So I'll actually write out a vision of why I'm doing this before every project, or most projects. And I'll be like, okay, I'm doing this not because I should, not because people want me to, but because there's something here that lights me up. And for her, it's like I really wanted to give this to her before she died. I thought it would be really meaningful. She is someone who like was brought up where when she was a kid, she was never really loved or seen, and so I want her to know like she's loved and seen. And she took a back seat, kind of in the spotlight was always on my grandfather when he was alive, and so she was always kind of like the not the main attraction. And with this book, I'm putting her like front and center, and so that's meaningful to me. And then to like have this part of our family's like heritage like captured is really important to me too. So I want to like have that be a part of our lineage, is like her story and all of her stories. So that it was my vision for it. It was probably a little bit different when I wrote it out, but that's what I feel in my heart. And when I connect to that before I write, I like love writing it. And then sometimes I'll show up as I should because I said I would. So it kind of goes both ways, and I have
I
to like work
see.
with that.
So,
I'm very much stuck in shoulds a lot. That's my
okay,
training as well.
interesting. Would you
Yeah.
recommend that we read our why, but like at the beginning of every focus block? Okay.
Hmm. That would be a great practice. I forget to do that. That's when I get into the shoulds. So if you have a reminder, it's like connect to your why. Yeah, if you feel like expansive and lit up, like when you first took on that women's program project, it's like, oh, I'm doing it for this, and you're feeling like expansive. That's how you know you're connected to the possibility that you want to create.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, okay, let's check in and see where we are in terms of what you wanted to get out of this session. So the main thing you wanted to look at was like, how do I choose? And it sounds like you've actually
Yeah,
chosen.
and I thank you because I think what I needed was permission to step out of like there's one right way and I'm doing it the wrong way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was getting stuck in.
Yeah,
You know?
that is exactly right. Thanks for seeing that, because we don't see when we're stuck in that. It's actually really hard to see on our own. That's why it's great to come into a coaching conversation like this, and why I'm glad you're doing coaching, because I really stand for coaching in the world, and how we can't see when we're in it. So you were stuck in like, I need to have the right way. I need to have the right answer, which is the brain wanting to engage with that. And so the brain's going to spin around and it will never have the right answer because there isn't one. And so it's trying to find it. It's like doing its darndest, like the brain's
Right.
really trying hard, but we can't. And so that's where the choosing practice, where it's from your heart, cuts through all of that, because there is actually no right answer. It's just like, what do you want? And you, to your credit, like I really acknowledge you for practicing. You actually practice choosing from the heart. And I want to say one thing again to acknowledge you is you're actually really good
Thank
at it.
you.
I would imagine that's from
Mm.
practice, from other things that you've been doing to connect to your heart. Is
It's
that
funny
true?
because so these are my insecurities, right, that come up. So right before I
Hmm.
did it, I was like, well, you suck. Like you're not going to be able to hear it. You know, those are the things that are still in
Hmm.
my brain. So there's that, and then there's like the deeper layer of just like calm and love. So thank you for.
Yeah, you notice the fears, and you're like, you suck, you can't
Mm-hmm,
do this. What right
mm-hmm,
before we practiced, right?
mm-hmm,
Like that was coming up. Great noticing. And those will are trying to protect you from this. So those are like, you can think of them as like your little protector sitting on your shoulder. Like, don't do this. It's scary. You're gonna fail. You're gonna do it wrong. Like, people are gonna. We're recording this, so people are gonna see it. So those things will try and stop you from actually
mm-hmm,
doing it because it's scary. You're actually stepping into the unknown where you're like being vulnerable and saying, what do I want? Okay, I want that. And I have to admit it, and like admit it to myself, admit it to the coach. Um, and that's scary to do. It's almost like if you just said, I want this. This is what I want in life. We're not trained in by the world to do that. And so what we're trained in is don't want what you
mm-hmm.
want because you won't get
Yeah.
it. You're going to be disappointed or told why you're bad for wanting
Mm-hmm,
it. Like this is how the world trains us, not because the world sucks, but just the world has learned to
mm-hmm,
do that, right? And so we actually shut down our heart's desires. We're just like, I'm just okay with whatever I
mm-hmm.
have. I don't want anything more. And then I just do things not from what my heart wants, but from should. And so I really love that you saw that like all I needed was permission to like just choose what I want. And you saw the fears that came up, but that's all it is just like, here's what I
Mm-hmm.
want. And it's okay to want that. We can give ourselves
Totally.
permission. So thanks for giving
Thank
yourself
you.
permission.
And it also goes to show that you can't be always your own coach. It's like we need each other to do these like reflections and to just there's something magical I think in that. So yeah.
It's hard. This is why I really stand for coaching, and I'm glad that you'll be doing it. Um, it's hard to see our own stuff. I know I can't. That's why I have a
Mm,
coach. So I work with my own coach because I can see stuff for others. I'm really good at it now, but I can't see my own stuff. So I'll be like, I think I can see my own stuff. And my tendency is actually to want to do it on my own and not be vulnerable, not be exposed, and just like figure it out by myself. It's way easier that way, right? But then I like will talk to my coach and I'm like, okay, this is what I think. This is how it looks to me. And he'll be able to see stuff that I can't because he's not in my world. And so he's like, oh, I notice you're doing this thing, like taking something with as a should and like beating yourself over the head with
mhm.
it, like, oh yeah, I am doing that. Like, and then it's not that that's bad. I'm human. So I'm just kind of doing a human thing. But then it's like, do you want to keep doing that? Like, is that, like, I'm like, yes, this feels great. I want it's like a
Mhm.
massage, right? Yeah, massaging myself with my shoulds. Or it could be like, no, that doesn't feel great. I don't want to keep doing that. And so you can choose, but it's not. So if someone is reflecting something you can't see, it's not that there's anything wrong with that or you have to stop, but it gives you more awareness, which gives you access to more choices.
Yeah. More freedom.
Yeah. Okay. I know we didn't get to everything that you wanted to touch on, but it sounds like we got through
The
the
main
the main
thing
part.
that was the big one.
Yeah. Um, and so for the other stuff, would you like to just kind of
Yeah,
set them
I
aside
totally
for
can. I feel
now?
like because
Yeah.
we worked on the biggest one, that's so yeah, thank you so much for that.
Okay. Actually, what I meant was like you had a long
Okay.
list and you chose
Oh,
a
you
couple of
meant
them.
sorry, in
And
terms
so,
of
yeah, everything on your list.
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. That was my fault. So, are for the rest of the things on the list, are you good with like setting them aside for now? Are there pieces that you want to like be touching every once in a while, or like what would serve you?
I think what I would do is kind of like the same process as before, is just focus, like hone in on the ones that are the most important to me right now. And right now it's really like abundance mindset is really, really powerful. And
Mm.
I see how just practicing it for the last couple of days has really reflected in my external reality. Um, so I just want to continue doing that and just release the grip on all the other practices and still like have an intention with my
Okay.
sleep. Um, but not be obsessed with perfection because, you know, um, yeah. And also I like, when I sleep earlier, then naturally I exercise in the morning. So it's kind of like goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. So, one thing you can do is just to put those on a list of like on
Mm-hmm.
hold, and I'm going to revisit them, periodically and see if my heart wants to move into any of them. So it's not that you're never going to do them. It's just like I'm committed to these. I really want to, but they're on hold for now. It's like pressing the pause
Mm-hmm.
button, but not just forgetting about them because they're still
Yeah.
important to you. So you come back to them periodically. Another thing you can do is to say, well, there's still some pieces that aren't, the most important ones like sleep and
Mm-hmm.
exercise. And I want to have them, but I don't need to have them as my main focus. I'm going to just touch them very lightly and like, what would I like to do with
Mm-hmm.
those? So it's just like, okay, maybe I just want to make sure I get to sleep on time,
Mm-hmm.
or, whatever it is that would help with sleep, but nothing that's going to require like an all day
Mm-hmm.
focus. So you kind of like, okay, I want to touch this once a week, if it's still important to you, but not your main focus. I want to, have 5 minutes a day where I do this, or it's like, I want to do the 5 minutes a day, but I'm going to start that in 2 weeks from
Mm-hmm.
now. So I give myself some space. So it'd be good to just go through the list and kind of so choose from the
Mm-hmm.
heart and then decide how you want to like handle those so they feel handled to you, as opposed to just this big list of shoulds that you're forgetting
Right.
about.
Yeah, that's interesting because then it
Yeah.
also builds self trust to show, like, okay, I heard you. I know that this is what you care about. So this is the plan for these things.
Yeah. I really think what you're cultivating is self trust. I really love that you
Mm-hmm.
could see that. Yeah, you're cultivating trust. Like you've fallen off of things have been messy, and you're trusting yourself. You're learning to trust yourself to come back to it so that it's not such a big deal if you fall on any of these. And then you're trusting yourself to choose from the heart, which is a really big one. You just practiced it now, even though you had some shakiness around it and lack of trust. You actually practiced in spite of that lack of trust. And now you're just trusting what came
Mm-hmm.
up and saying, oh yeah, it's okay to like just do those and not do everything else. And you're trusting also that you could, find a way to have those handled, the other things that you're not taking on. So there's a lot of self trust that you're practicing. I really acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would recommend like going through your listing and figuring out how you want to handle all of those, and just again trusting yourself. And also, some grace for yourself is my
Okay.
last
Thank
reminder.
you.
Yeah, if things fall off, it's just like, I'm so dumb for dropping them, but just kind of having some compassion and some grace. It's just like, okay, I'm in my process. Things are gonna fall off sometimes, and I just need to come back to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Thank you.
How does that
Sounds
sound?
good. I guess the image that came to
Okay.
mind was like a perception of people who have, like you, who have like a lot of success in many areas of your life.
Hmm.
Um, it it's like I have, or maybe many other people have this image that like all of your habits are like sky high all the time, and
Perfect.
I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
just wanting to have this ideal way of being that we perceive others as having.
Yeah. I get that. I have that too for other people. It's like, okay, their lives are like this. But then as I've noticed, people think that I have these things, and I can take some responsibility. Like maybe I haven't written enough about the messiness of that. So But as I noticed that, I'm like, oh, they don't see all the messiness that's over
Mm-hmm.
here. And that's partly because probably I don't let them in on that enough. But also, if they can't see mine, then I can't see anybody else's. And that means like it's never like that for
Mm-hmm.
anybody. I don't care who it is. You could be Obama, like it looks like he's got everything together. Nope, I bet you he does. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. So, or whoever it is, like I don't know why I chose
Mm-hmm.
Obama, but it could be anybody that you like think has their life together. Like there's messiness behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes. So yeah, I'll let you, as we finish this, I'll just let you know, anyone listening or watching, is like my life is definitely messier than it looks, from the outside. And like, I'll tell you, like last week I had everything like organized and I was on top of everything. I have a planning session in the morning where I like have everything all planned out and I try and follow that. And even though that goes a little bit messy sometimes, it's really nice when I have things organized and planned. This week, all messiness. It's just like I try and do a little bit of planning in the morning, but I'm feeling like I don't have time, and there's like some broken things that I need to fix, and so I've been the last few days just really feeling a lot of messiness in terms of how things are going in my day. And I know I can come back to that. So, but I'm just letting you know, like, it's definitely a bunch of mess here today. I've got like a few messes that I want to go fix as soon as we get off of this
Nice.
call. And um, so yeah, like I'm trusting myself in this
Mm-hmm.
process, and I'm noticing, like, sometimes things get a little bit messy. So that's how it is right now
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to have today feel
No,
complete?
thank you so much.
Yeah. Will you? I would actually really love to hear
Sure.
from you. Um, yeah, how things go. So, would you follow up with me in like a month? Send
Yeah,
me an
I
email.
can. I'll put it in my calendar. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, Sophia, thank you for spending this time with me, being vulnerable, practicing here in public, and really modeling what it's like to be a bit messy in public and get supported through that and be in your process and learning to develop that trust in
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you so much.